Hi fashion lovers, I am Ogechi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Hairstyle is beautiful, cool and simple. Today I'm showing you how to make this gorgeous bow dress with snatched waistline and gathers. If you would like to see this tutorial, grab your fabric, let's create magic. And don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, and feel free to ask questions for more clarity. For this tutorial, I'll be making use of 3 yards of Ankara fabric and 2 lines of the ashoke fabric. The first thing you're going to do is to fold your fabric into 4. The length of my fabric is around 25 inches because I'll be wanting the gathers to start along my hip line. Then the width of my fabric is about 22.5 inches. So I folded it into 4 because I'll be cutting both the front and the back together. So the next thing you're going to do is to go in by your neck width measurement. I went in by 3.5 inches because I want mine to be relaxed, and I came down by 1 inch, and then I'm going to connect it with a curve, and that will serve as the neck measurement for the back. And the 3.5 inch will ensure that your built up collar will be relaxed. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to go in by my shoulder measurement divide by 2, and that is 7. Then I went in by how long I want my sleeve to be. For mine, I used 10 inches for this, so I am just marking 10 inches for my sleeve. Then I went ahead to measure what I'll be having from that 10 inches, and I had 17 inches. So what I'll just do is just to mark my 17 inches from the hem to the top, like from the top to the hem rather. So I'm just marking it, and I'll just roll it with a straight line. At the sleeve length, I came down by 1 inch, and I'll be connecting that 1 inch to the neck. I'll just be rolling a straight line to connect that 1 inch to the neck to form my shoulder slope. Then after that is done, I am just going to measure how wide I want my arm to be, and I came down at that point by 10 inches. You can do from 10 to 12, depends on you. At the parts where I marked the 10 inches, I'm just going to go in from the folded area with my bust measurements divided by 4. I'm just going to mark it there. Then I'm now going to add 5 inches extra to what I got at that point. So basically, I just went in by my bust measurement divided by 4 plus extra 5 inches. Then I drew it to meet the 10 inches point I marked earlier. So the next thing I went in to do was to take my half length measurements, and my half length is 16 inches. So I just marked 16 inches across. After marking my half length, the next thing I did was to mark my shoulder to hip measurement. My shoulder to hip measurement was 24, and I just marked 24 there at the hemline. So I'm just going to mark 24 across, then go in with my ruler and connect a straight line. So after that is done, on the hip line, I am just going to get my hip measurement divided by 4, then I'm going to mark it there. Then I'll add extra 5 inches. Then what I get, I'm going to connect it into the sleeve. The next thing I'll be doing is up shoulder. I'm just going to give mine a little shaping at the waist. So I just came in by 1 inch at the waist. Then I am just connecting it to the hip and then connecting it to the sleeve to give it a bit of shape, but it is optional if you don't want that. After that is done, the next part we'll be working on is the front neckline, because you know we did the back neckline earlier, so now we'll be working at the front neckline. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to mark 7.5 inches. You can go in as deep as 8 inches, but I want mine to be at 7.5 inches so it doesn't show my bust area. Then I'm just connecting a straight line at that point. Then I went in by 2.5 inches. So that 2.5 inches, I'll be marking it down to the hem of the dress. Why I use 2.5 is because my ashoke is 6 inches, so if you divide it by 2, it's going to be 3 inches. You get to understand as you watch this video. Just mark 2.5 since you are using an ashoke, 2.5 inches at that point, and connect it to the hem or the hip line of the dress. Then from the 7.5 inches, we'll be connecting it into the 3.5 that we marked for the neckline. So that's just what we'll be getting. Then this is going to form our front neckline. So that will be all for the drafting of this dress. So the next thing we are going to do is just to go in and cut with our scissors. Since it's on a fold of 4, the first part you'll be cutting is the back neckline. Pay attention to the way I am cutting it before you go ahead and cut yours. For the front neckline, I am only cutting it on the front pattern. This is what you should have after cutting it. See, I just removed the front neckline. In the front, we have 2 pieces. Then for the back, we just have only 1 piece.
So the next part I'll be working on now is the belt part. So what I just did was to bring out the one I cut off from the main fabric. So that's what I'll be using for the belt, and I folded it into 2, and it is 4 pieces, and it's going to serve as belt for the 2 sides. That means 2 pieces for each side. So I just went ahead to ensure that it is straight. After ensuring that it was straight, I just opened the top and then went ahead to measure the width to see if it would be enough for the belt. When I measured the width, it was 4 inches wide, so I used it like that. After setting it aside, I brought the front piece. Then at that 7.5 inch mark, I made a notch. You should make a notch there because it's going to help you later on. Then the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to cut the gathers part.
To determine how the gathers parts will be, it depends on the length of your dress. That is, it depends on how long or short you want your dress to be. For me, I want my own to be above my knee. I wanted mine to be around 35, 36 thereabouts. So I already cut out 24 for my shoulder to hip. So what I did now was to subtract that 24 from 36, so that was giving me 12. So I will now add 1.5 inches for sewing allowance, so that will give 13.5, but I cut mine at 14. I hope you understand. So basically, I'm just going to subtract what you have from your shoulder to your hip from your actual length measurement, then add 1.5 inch to get the length of the gathers. For mine, I cut it into 2 places because I want it to be as long as 3 yards. So the length is 14 and the width is 3 yards. Moving on, the next thing I'm going to do is to cut the pocket of the dress. So for the pocket, I'll be cutting it into 4 pieces, 2 for each side. So the next thing you're going to do is just to fold your fabric into 4. For the width of the pocket, I used 8 inches. Then for the depth of the pocket, I used 10.5. And I'm just going to cut it out. That will be all for the pocket. So the next thing we are going to do is to go ahead and sew. So the first thing I'm just going to do is to join the shoulders of both the back and the front. So I'm just placing the back pattern and the front piece together at the shoulder. So I'm just going to join the shoulders together. So now just take it to a sewing machine and then join the shoulders together. After that is being done, the next thing we are going to do is to measure around the neckline. We're measuring from the front neckline, from the edge of the front neckline to the other side. So we'll just be measuring it round. After measuring, I got 57 inches. So what I'll be doing, I'll be adding 3 inches to it because we'll be using it to cut the ashoke. 57 plus 3 will give us 60 inches. So we'll be cutting a length of 60 inches on the ashoke to be able to use for the collar part of the dress. So I'm just going to measure out 60 inches and cut. So the next thing we're going to do is to determine how wide we want the opening to be. You'll get the main piece and locate the 7.5 notch we made on both of the front neckline. Then we are going to go in with our measuring tape and measure from that 7.5 notch through the back neckline to the next 7.5 notch. So after doing that, I got 23 inches. So that 23 inches you're going to divide by 2. After dividing by 2, you're going to measure what you have on the ashoke fabric. For example, if your round measurement was 22, that means you're going to mark 11 because 22 divided by 2 is 11. But my own was around 23 point something. So what I had now is 11.75. So that was what I marked. Then from that 11.75 round, you're going to start sewing from there. But the first thing I'm just going to do is to iron mine into two so I can get the mid part of the ashoke, so I don't make mistakes. So you just go in with your iron, then iron it into two. When you are done ironing, the next thing you are going to do is to sew from that place you mark down to the hem. After doing that, this is what it should be looking like. So the next thing you're just going to do is to iron it flat, just iron properly. This is how it should be looking like once you are done ironing. So you're going to go in now with your fabric, then get the midpoint of the necklines at the back, fold it into two, then notch the midpoint. Then also you take the ashoke and also do the same thing, get the midpoint of the back of the neckline too for the ashoke. Then you're now going to arrange it matching the midpoints to each other. Then you're now going to just go ahead and secure it down with your pins. So once you are done securing it down with your pin, you can take it over to the sewing machine and sew. So this is what you should have after you're done. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to trim the thread and trim the excess at the bottom. After doing that, I'm just going to measure what I have on the hand. I'm measuring from one end to the other. After measuring, I had about 18 point something inches, so I am going to cut about 20 inches on my ashoke. I'm going to cut about 20 inches. After cutting the 20 inches, I'm cutting it in two places for both hands. Now I have measured about 40 inches, so I'm just going to be dividing it into two to make 20 for the left hand and 20 for the right hand. After doing that, next thing you do is fold it into two, and you can go in with your iron, but I just folded mine into two. Mine was very stiff, so it could stay and I could control it, so I didn't need to go in with my iron. So you can just fold yours into two and go in with your iron. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to get the sleeve part and place the ashoke on it, just as you can see, and I'll head over to the sewing machine and make a stitch there, and I'll do it for the second hand too. This was how it was looking after sewing together. So the next thing I'm just going to do is just to trim off the excess on both hands. So this is the final result. So the next thing we are going to do now is to fix the pocket. So what we are going to do is measure the half length. So just going to measure the half length. My half length is 16, so I just marked 16. Then the pockets will come down by 1 inch from the half length. So the next thing we're going to do is just to position the belt where it's going to be fixed. So on the right side, at that half length point you mark, you're just going to pin down your belt inward and ensure that the longer part is going inward towards the neck part of the dress, so that you don't end up sewing it. Just watch as I am doing it. So you can just pin it down to secure. From the 16 inches, I came down by 1 inch. So from that 1 inch, that's where I'll be attaching my pockets. You're going to attach your pockets right sides facing each other, and make sure they are properly placed. When I placed my pocket, I noticed that it was bigger than what I have left. On the dress, I had about 6 to 7 inches, but the pocket was 8 inches wide. So I had to take in 1 inch from both sides to reduce the pocket. I just took out 1 inch from the part that will be getting attached to the dress and connected in, just as you can see. Then I'm just going to cut it. And note, I did it for the two pockets. So I just went ahead to check if it is okay now, and it's going to give me half inch for my allowance. So I just fixed it. Then I am now going to just go ahead and place it right sides facing each other. But before that, I am going to make a notch at where the pocket is supposed to be. So I'll just make a notch. Then I'm going to fix right sides facing each other, go over to the sewing machine and make a stitch on all 4 pockets. Before making the stitch, I am just securing with a pin. So this is how I'm just securing with a pin, because I'll be sewing it in that direction. At this point, I was already done securing all 4 pockets together. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to replace the belt back where I removed it initially at the waistline. So I'm just going to fix in the belt, and I am now going to head over to the sewing machine to sew everything around together. I'm going to close the sides. At this point, I was done securing the belt, so I'm just arranging the sides together so that I can sew it. Now all these sides are matching and everything is well arranged. So the next thing is to do is to sew it down. So you're going to be sewing it down following my chalk movement. You're going to sew from the shoulder to the side, then into the pocket. You're just going to sew into the pocket, then sew round, then sew outside the pocket. I hope you get what I am saying. Just follow my hand movements. That was the way I'm just going to So I'm just going to sew it and show you how it looks like. So this is how it came out looking like afterwards. Then see the belt and everything is intact. You can arrange everything. You can iron everything at this point rather. So the next thing I'm just going to do is to push in the pocket and to measure around the hem. This measurement now will show you how much you're going to gather your gathering piece. So I'm just going to measure around the hem. After measuring around the hem, I got about 56 or 54 inches thereabouts. Then I am just going to use that 54 to do my gathers. Then before gathering, I have 3 yards of fabric here that I'm going to use. I've already gone ahead to make loose stitches round, so I'm just rechecking my length at this point. So before you do your gathers, ensure that you have 0.5 inches so that you can use to join. You will not just start doing your gathers from the tip. You have 0.5 inches you're going to use to join. So what I'm just doing is to tie my line so that the thing doesn't lose, the loose threads, the loose ends. I'm just tying it at that 0.5 inches point, and I've already measured my gathers and to be enough for me to attach to the hem of the dress. So next I'm just going to do is to sew down at that 0.5 I left earlier and attach it to the hem of the dress. So now I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and do that, and also hem the dress. After everything was done, this is how the dress came out to look like. I hope you love the outlook. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share for more beginner friendly fashion tutorials. See you in my next one. Bye.